So, I tell you what, on his end, he's done a nice job. Honestly, he's a football player. He's got football instincts, so he gets through a lot of learning curves that some young players don't get through because he's such an instinctual player. So we just got to keep growing him and keep developing him, and I think as time goes on, we'll feel him more and more. He has the same type of instincts that Taysir Mack has.
Shawn, as a whole, why the struggles in the second half?
We've been our own worst enemy in some regards. We'll come out and we have a breakout run in this last game, and you're always looking for those opportunities, and we have a penalty on it. Just the management aspect of it. That was just a management issue, simply getting lined up. Not worrying about the official, but getting lined up. And we've hurt ourselves in times. Because of those penalties. And then the other thing, I know Pat does a great job of bringing us up in our team meetings, and showing where the, critical penalties happen. All three phases of the game, we've hurt ourselves. And then, we've had times where we've had field position that we've got to knock ourselves out of it. I mean, you've got to change your field. And, that's young quarterback, young receivers. You've got to keep developing and keep working them.
Schematically or play calling wise, you think you guys are making enough adjustments, or I guess the right adjustments when, in the locker room?
We always talk all through every series. I mean, it's like we go in there with a plan. We usually have a second half plan besides that, and we tweak that based off of what we saw in the first half. I think the big thing in that area of football is being able to get it articulated at halftime to the kids, and we've changed our whole procedure at halftime. Last couple of weeks of how we've got them on the same page with us, as a group, and then individually as coaches.
You're talking about Georgia Tech and UNC week.
Mm-hmm.
You guys made those changes for it?
Yes.
Shawn, you mentioned Kenny slowing things down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Are there still moments you see and have to talk him through where maybe he's scrambling a little too early, not giving his receivers time to complete the route?
I think you got to trust his instincts because he's an instinctual runner. I mean, he did a really, he does things that, again, he'll bleep something on the radar screen and it's like, wow, that's awesome. Last week they're in a two-man coverage, and he instantly takes it and has a big gain. That's what he's supposed to do. So he sees a lot of football that younger guys don't see. And then, developing his, instincts are still, we remind ourselves all the time around here, because he can talk, he can talk the game now, and he can articulate it back to you. He's still young and still needs the help. That's why I've kind of taken an approach with him between series and talking with him. What are you seeing? I know what we're seeing, making sure that he sees it. And like I said, this past week he had great information, and he knew exactly what to do with the football, and was able, we were able to articulate it back to the receivers. He's done a good job of leading down there on the sideline. One of the things I've tried to do is get done with him, get the information articulated to him, and then put him out with those receivers to talk with them, draw them on the same page with him. And he's done a nice job of leading on the sideline. I think the last 2 weeks in particular, and it's been a challenge I've put him in charge of because he has so much trust by his his teammates.
How would you rate the way your offensive line is pass protected, and how does that sort of interact with that process that Kenny's going through?
Yeah, you have to keep him clean, and he's. I think our protection has gotten better, and protection is something that you have to continually work on. It's the hardest part of the game of football. It's a lot easier to run block than it is to protect. So, the guys understand if they give him time, he can hurt a defense. And then, it's not just the protection aspect of it. It's also the receivers winning and getting spaced up, and getting at the right spot so that Kenny can make the right decision to get the ball out. It's everybody. It's not one group. The receivers are as much responsible for protection as the line is, and the quarterback the same thing, so he can get the ball out. In order for it all to work together, everybo's got to do their job.
Shawn, is it speed that stands out with Central's defense?
It is. They're very athletic, very active. They remind me of, they're an athletic defense. They remind me of some of the teams we had at Louisville. They're very, very, very athletic, on the back end and the second level, and also in the, first level of defense, the defensive line. Active kids that, fly around in their scheme, and they've got a scheme that allows them to use that athleticism.
You mentioned changing halftime procedures.
Mm-hmm.
as a guy who's never been in a locker room at halftime, what
Yeah.
exactly does that mean?
Well, we've got a young group of guys, so, just being able to, put things, we always put things up in pictures, what we're seeing. We draw during the series, and we make sure that we have those pictures up. We articulate those to the guys. Okay, this is what they're doing, in terms of, these are the blitzes that we saw. Here's the fronts that they're playing. And then from that point, here's how we're going to attack them, and then turn it over to the position coaches to, talk through the detail of that execution.
That's something you've been doing more detailed now
Yeah,
than
yeah.
before?
Yeah, usually, we've tried to be shorter on our end and, working through the series as we go, taking those notes and getting those notes prepared with our our graduate assistants are in the box with us so that it easily is put up on the board. And, then, for us, we get, okay, here's what happened, address the kids, and then come back and we talk about, okay, now moving forward, here's what looks good, here's what we're doing, this is what's there. And it's been a good formula for us, and we feel like we're gaining on it, especially like the run game examples, that they're in the first half, of several games. I mean, we've been right on. Now we're trying to we take that into the second half.
Sure, more detailed then.
Yeah, just excellent, more detail period.